Hi, welcome to another edition of the Alan Rosenberg Show. Today is episode 2 of the greatest album runs of all time. Now, you can check out my other video. Episode 1 featured The Who. Today, episode 2, we're going to be talking about Pink Floyd. This is also a good lesson on how the music industry used to be. Pink Floyd, we're going to start. 1973, they released this album that everybody knows, Dark Side of the Moon. This is actually a really cool version of it. This is an SACD version because I have an SACD player, and this has different mixes, including a 5.1 mix of Dark Side of the Moon. And then there's a lot of versions of it. Of course, I have it on vinyl. This is a really fun version. This is called the Experience Edition, which also comes with a live version of from the Empire Pool back in 1974. Of course, Dark Side of the Moon was issued in 73, and that's going to be the first album in a 4-album run, in my opinion, of one of the greatest album runs of all time. But the lesson to be learned is Dark Side of the Moon was the 8th Pink Floyd album. Now, of course, the first one's different, The Piper at the Gates of Dawn, which is with Syd Barrett. But then they had it took 7 more albums for the band to put together an album of the quality of Dark Side of the Moon. And even approaching it, you know, Pink Floyd was always about soundscapes and the show itself. They were never great song writers, after Piper at the Gates of Dawn. And that's why Dark Side of the Moon is perhaps the greatest leap in quality and the biggest change of a band, in my opinion, that I've ever seen. I mean, the leap from Dark Side of the Moon to what came before is just mind-boggling. Roger Waters really coming into his own as a songwriter. I mean, even approaching it, they started becoming more song-based. You know, you have an album like Metal, which I really like. I think, side 2 of Metal is Echoes, which is an amazingly great track. But even on this album, you got some weird things, a dog barking, and One of These Days is a really fun song, but it's not really a song. It's more of a musical jam experience. The album after that is obscured by Clouds, which was really a movie soundtrack. There's a couple of great songs on here, or really good song. What's Up the Deal is really good. But the leap from those albums and before that, Atom Heart Mother, to Dark Side of the Moon, which is really, I think, probably the greatest album ever made. I mean, it's just a perfect mixture of the quality of songs themselves, the engineering by Alan Parsons. You still had all those amazing Pink Floyd effects, and you have this amazing linear listening experience from the opening to the ending. Just takes you on a journey. And I don't really listen to Dark Side of the Moon that much because it's so played out. I've heard it so many times. But yet, honestly, if it comes on or I decide to play it and I'm in the mood, it just envelops you and it just takes you on that journey. And it's just the most perfect listening experience. Dark Side of the Moon from 73. They followed that up in 1975 with Wish You Were Here. And here's a digitally remastered version of that. This was an anniversary edition, and then they came up with the Experience edition of that, which also featured unreleased tracks, including a bunch of tracks, Raving and Drooling, and You've Got to Be Crazy, which you probably know would later appear in a studio version on Animals, but these were live versions from the many years before. Animals came out in 77. This is live in 74. This is a really cool version of Wish You Were Here. David Gilmour says Wish You Were Here is his favorite. He thinks it's the best Floyd album. Is it really better than Dark Side of the Moon? Probably not. But it's almost an equally amazing experience. I kind of think they're different in a way. To me, Dark Side of the Moon is kind of linear. It goes from beginning to end. And Wish You Were Here to me is like circular, because you have Shine On You Crazy Diamond, which starts it off, this amazingly expanded, moody, unbelievably enveloping song, and then it closes with Shine On You Crazy Diamond. So it kind of repeats itself. And I like that. It's just great. And of course, you have the 3 classic songs in the middle, Welcome to the Machine, Have a Cigar, and the amazing title track. Have a Cigar, really cool. Love that track. Great indictment of the music industry, as is Welcome the Machine. And of course, Roy Harper is the singer. Now, back in those days, and I was around back in those mid 70s, Pink Floyd was a totally faceless band. Most people didn't know who Roger Waters was. Most people didn't know who David Gilmour was. Nobody cared. Pink Floyd was an entity even then because you wanted to see the show, and the music was so great. These albums were so great. Nobody knew that Roy Harper was the singer of Have a Cigar. Nobody cared, and to this day, nobody cares. But it was a good move because, if you hear Gilmour sing, if you hear Roger Waters sing, he really can't sing it that well. But Wish You Were Here, an amazing album from '75. These are some ads. Dark Side of the Moon set a record, and this is a long time ago, for being in the Billboard charts. And then this is an original ad from when Wish You Were Here came out. Had that great packaging, as all the Dark Side of the Moon too. And then here's Pink Floyd live around that time. Earl's Court. So now the 75 to 77 album, number 3 in the run, is my go-to Floyd album, which is Animals. Is Animals as good as Wish You Were Here or Dark Side? No, it's definitely not. But it's my go-to because, again, those albums are so great, but they're kind of played out. Animals, to me, you just never get sick of hearing. It's dark. It's moody. It's just a really, really cool listen. I love the album-length song Dogs. Pigs, 3 different ones, Ha Ha, Sherrod, You Are, which is the catchiest thing on the album. Sheep's okay. Sheep is the one that's maybe the weakest song. And then it starts with the little acoustic thing, Pigs on the Wing 1, and it ends with Pigs on the Wing 2. Interesting note, when I originally bought Animals, it was on 8-track tape, and Pigs on the Wing on 8-track tape is combined. It's got Pigs on the Wing 1 and 2 are combined as one song with a guitar solo in the middle, I think by Snowy White, who was the touring guitarist. So if you ever find the 8-track of Animals and you can play it, it's a totally unique experience than the vinyl or the CD. Now, 2 years later, they finish it up with the 4th album in the set, and of course, that's their magnum opus, The Wall. This is an experience version of that on CD, which has a whole CD of demos and works in progress, which is always fun. This is cool. You might see this. This is an original first pressing copy of mine when I bought it when it came out back in '79, the end of '79 into '80. And the cool thing about the original vinyl, where is it? It came with the lyrics, but on side 2, there's the lyrics to a song called What Shall We Do Now, which is not on the album. So the album was printed with the lyrics, but then I guess Roger Waters and Bob Ezrin decided to take the song off. So it's kind of cool about the first pressing of Dark Side of the Moon. And actually the inside is different too, because on the inside it's produced by David Gilmour, Bob Ezrin, and Roger Waters at the very top, and then they changed that later on. Obviously that's Roger Waters' magnum opus, The Wall. It's an amazing listening experience, concept album, rock opera, you can call it. It's so immersive. It's really heavy. I like the movie as well. There's so many versions of this. There's live versions up the wazoo. But it's, what can you say? It's one of the greatest albums of all time. So those are those 4 albums right there. Dark Side of the Moon, 73. Wish You Were Here, 75. Animals, 77. And The Wall at the end of 79. Certainly one of the greatest runs in the history of music. After that, well, you know what happens. Even at the end of recording The Wall, they fire Richard Wright, the keyboard player. Funny thing, they pay him as a sideman on the tour. He's the only member of Floyd who actually makes money from the tour because it was a very small, short tour that cost a fortune of money. And then they do the final cut, which is the album they did after The Wall, which at least in my mind is basically a Roger Waters solo album. It sounds like a Roger Waters solo album. That could be a whole nother video. But it's a very heavy listen. It's kind of lacking melody in my opinion. and it's a moody piece. There's still some great songs on here. I think Not Now John is great, and if you're in the mood, the Final Cut's a good track. There's some good tracks, but it's a heavy listen, and it doesn't have those melodies where you have Gilmour working together with Roger Waters, certainly on Dark Side and Wish You Were Here, and to a lesser extent Animals, and mixed in The Wall, which is why The Wall's so great, because you still have Gilmour's input on some of the tracks, Comfortably Numb especially, things like that. So that's my pick for the second episode of the greatest album runs of all time, Pink Floyd. Hope you enjoyed this. Let me know your opinion. What do you think? And thanks for watching. Please hit subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And please check out my other videos and tell your friends. And thanks for tuning in. Hope you have a happy holiday.